사르메. On July 6, 2023, the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen aired its first episode. Instead of continuing the story where we left off in Season 1, Season 2 begins with a flashback to the days of Gojo's youth.
This new season was highly anticipated, but we here at Jump Report had reservations of our own.
However, what MAPPA delivered in the first 5 episodes has far exceeded our expectations, with an obvious jump in animation quality, as well as a much more character-driven story.
Given the trailers and promotional material, we were expecting the focus to be on Gojo, delving deep into his backstory and the events that shaped his character into what was shown in Season 1.
We have to give praise to the story for providing us a more vulnerable and less experienced Gojo, who was as strong as ever, but clearly lacked the maturity and experience we've come to expect from his character.
Although the trailers and promotional material put Gojo center stage, we felt that the real main focus of these first 5 episodes were actually on another character.
While Gojo is a part of this story, we believe that it is more so Geto's story, with this arc acting as a tragic tale of a fallen hero.
In this video, we intend to examine the character of Geto Suguru and his tragic fall from hero to villain.
We'll cover the story as we know it so far and the events that shape Geto into the villain we see later on in the series. Starting off, let's examine the concept of a fallen hero to provide a frame and lens into Geto's character arc. The 2004 book, The 7 Basic Plots by Christopher Booker, provides a basis for the plot of a fallen hero, known as the tragedy.
The tragedy depicts the slow spiral into darkness that a protagonist experiences, with the hero becoming a villain by the end of the story.
The 7 Basic Plots also highlights the idea of events happening in patterns of 3.
We believe that Geto's fall can be highlighted by 3 big events that occurred within this arc, each of which we'll cover in our analysis.
To begin, let's look at the scene of Geto and Gojo playing basketball in episode 1. In this scene, we see Geto and Gojo discussing their beliefs on power and how it should be used. Geto argues that Jujutsu exists to protect the weak,
while Gojo retorts that assigning responsibility to the strong is something only the weak do. During this conversation, we see each character shooting shots at the hoop during their respective arguments, with the result of each shot giving us insight into the arguments presented alongside it.
Geto's shot fails to make it in the basket, while Gojo's shot circles the rim before finally falling in.
The result of each shot reflects the confidence the respective characters have in their moral beliefs, hinting that Geto already has doubts about his role in Jujutsu society.
After this scene, Geto and Gojo are tasked with protecting and escorting the Star Plasma Vessel, a junior high schooler named Riko, during her final days before her erasure.
The Star Plasma Vessel is a unique individual that is compatible with Tengen, a powerful Jujutsu sorcerer who bears the curse of immortality.
While the curse of immortality allows one to live forever, it does not mean one would remain unchanging, as Tengen runs the risk of evolution after a certain period of time that would cause them to lose their humanity in the process.
In order to prevent that, Tengen must assimilate with the Star Plasma Vessel and reset the progress of their evolution, or else the Jujutsu world could potentially lose out on their power in the form of the protective barriers they keep active.
Tengen could potentially become a threat to humanity in their evolved state, further providing reason for the assimilation.
There also exists a group of zealots that worship Tengen as a god, and wish for nothing more than to see them evolve, that hired the infamous assassin Toji Fushiguro to kill the Star Plasma Vessel.
Toji is an extremely powerful assassin known as the Sorcerer Killer, and has built up a reputation for killing powerful individuals despite being unable to use cursed energy himself.
During their mission, Geto and Gojo take the time to ensure Riko spends her last days enjoying the world and what life has to offer by protecting her during school and taking her to vacation in Okinawa.
These blissful moments are interrupted at the very end with an attack by Toji, who managed to successfully sneak attack Gojo.
Gojo tasks Geto with escorting Riko to Tengen, while he holds off Toji in the rear.
Despite Gojo's confidence in handling the situation, he is defeated by Toji and is left for dead as a result.
Although he is defeated, he manages to buy enough time for Geto and Riko to reach Tengen's chamber.
Once there, Geto tells Riko about his previous discussion with Gojo, stating that they would choose to protect her regardless if she chose to go through with the assimilation or not.
Geto presents her with a choice: either merge with Tengen or continue living her life as her own person.
The death of Riko is the first of 3 events that Geto experiences before his transformation into a villain. In this moment, he begins to realize that despite his strength, he was unable to save the person he was intending to protect.
Although Gojo was trusted with defeating Toji, Geto realizes that in this moment, not even one of the strongest sorcerers was enough to prevent what they were both trying to stop in the first place.
After an exchange of words, Geto attempts to take out Toji himself, but meets the same fate as Gojo, further reinforcing that he isn't strong enough to stand by his initial beliefs we see in the basketball scene.
It's important to mention that Toji, after defeating Geto, states that despite all their power, they were both defeated by a monkey who doesn't possess any cursed techniques. These events affirm to Geto that even with his strength, he cannot back his intentions to protect those he cares for.
Later on in the episode, Gojo has a rematch with Toji, and during his fight, he is able to understand the reverse curse technique, allowing him to utilize his iconic hollow technique purple. With it, he defeats Toji and comes out victorious.
In the next episode, the story time skips a year, showing Gojo refining his techniques with the help of Shoko and Geto. In this scene, we can take note of 2 notable elements of Geto's appearance. 1, Geto's physical health has taken a toll, and this is evident by the visible bags under his eyes, something that we have not yet seen before. And Gojo even points out Geto's physical deterioration as they're talking to each other.
Another element is his contrast to Shoko. As they stand next to each other, you can see Shoko is standing in the light, whereas Geto is in the shadows, subconsciously hinting to the audience of him succumbing to the darkness.
As the story proceeds, we are given the same monologue by Geto from the very beginning of the 2nd season. The events that have transpired in the past year are the cause for Geto's current physical and mental state. He begins to question his purpose as a sorcerer and if his efforts to protect humanity have any actual impact through his repetition of the phrase, exercise, absorb, over and over.
To Geto, the once noble task of protecting humanity has become nothing more than a seemingly meaningless cycle that repeats over and over and over again. It doesn't help that Geto and Gojo are the only ones that are taking most of the missions, but working separate from one another. We believe that this separation was detrimental to Geto's state of mind. Without Gojo around, Geto's mental decline is allowed to fester, with nobody to challenge his beliefs or to correct his course.
This internal conflict Geto wrestles with leads up to the second of the 3 events, his conversation with Yuki.
This scene has a lot to unpack as it's full of metaphors and visual symbolism. The start of the scene shows Geto quietly thinking to himself before being interrupted by Haibara, a first year at Jujutsu High. Geto asks Haibara how he feels about being a sorcerer, and Haibara responds that he doesn't like to think too deeply. He just enjoys giving it his all at something he's good at. This comment points Geto in a new direction as he realizes he himself needs a purpose he believes in.
After this is the introduction of Yuki, another special grade sorcerer who is often away from Jujutsu High, abroad. She begins to tell Geto the reason that she's often abroad is that she disagrees with how the Jujutsu Society handles curses. That is, putting a band-aid on the problem instead of going after the source. She explains that curses are born from the negativity and fear of non-sorcerers, and explains her research into eliminating the birth of curses altogether. She presents 2 possible solutions to the problem. The first is to rid the world of fear and negativity, basically creating world peace.
The second option was to teach all of humanity how to control cursed energy, as curses can't be born if people can control the cursed energy inside them. After contemplating Yuki's theories, Geto comes up with his own third solution.
じゃあ非術師を皆殺しにすればいいじゃないですか。
Geto-kun.
He says this somewhat absent-mindedly, and is shocked when he hears Yuki agree with him. She confirms this idea, even saying that it's most likely the easiest option.
This plan would be a forced evolution of humanity, or eugenics to an extent. At this point in the scene, the weather outside changes, going from a sunny day to dark and rainy, signifying a change of Geto's mindset.
The rain in this scene represents a sort of baptism, washing away the noble ideas Geto once possessed, now emerging with a new belief in his mind.
Yuki then asks Geto if he hates non-sorcerers, and he responds that part of him does, and the other part hates himself for thinking that way, and that he's not sure which one is the real him.
Yuki tells Geto that he is neither. They are just options that he can choose that will eventually become his true feelings. While explaining this, Yuki points towards the exit of the building, signifying Geto leaving Jujutsu High and pursuing his own path. Then, she points down a long hallway back into the school, signifying that Geto could also continue to follow the teachings of Jujutsu Society and continue to protect the weak.
This visual representation of Geto's two choices is the most important element in this scene, as it gives Geto the choice between which future he would like to see, and this eventually leads him to the third and final event that shaped his character.
For the third and final event, there were two contenders to pick from. We will go over the one we chose and explain why the secondary choice was discarded.
After Geto's conversation with Yuki, we find out that the mission Haibara went on ended in failure and resulted in his death. Geto laments that if they continue to combat curses in their traditional manner, more sorcerers that he cares about will keep dying, with their sacrifices being meaningless.
This scene also metaphorically shows the blood of Haibara covering the hand of Geto, as if to say Geto's own inaction towards the problem has led to him having blood on his hands.
Haibara's death further motivates Geto to take action, and leads into what is the third and final event. Geto is tasked with removing curses that are terrorizing a small rural village. He deals with the problem easily, but the villagers do not believe the curses were the issue. Rather, a pair of girls that possessed cursed energy were to blame.
Geto knows this isn't true, and sees how the girls are being treated by their non-sorcerer neighbors. As the scene unfolds, Yuki's words echo, reminding Geto he has a choice to make, and in this scene, he makes that choice.
As Yuki's voice is heard, we see two shadows of Geto appear, representing the light and darkness of Geto's outlook on non-sorcerers.
However, as he leaves the room to destroy the village and its inhabitants, we only see one shadow leave the room, symbolizing Geto has made his choice and that he will kill all non-sorcerers to solve the problem of curses. This is further reinforced when we see his Jujutsu High pin fall to the ground, showing that he has abandoned the principles instilled into him by the school in favor of going his own way.
What's interesting is that at the beginning of the season, we see Geto leaving the burning village with the two girls, along with Geto leaving Gojo.
The latter was our secondary choice for this third event, since it is still an impactful moment.
However, Geto's actions in the village supersede him leaving Gojo, because by the time he leaves, he's already made up his mind. He made his choice by then, and there's no going back.
By that point, Geto has come full circle, and attained his role in the story as a villain. To conclude, the first 5 episodes of the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen masterfully depict a fallen hero. It provides us with 3 major events that successfully shows Geto Suguru's fall and how he becomes the villain we know later on.
We're really excited to see where the second season of Jujutsu Kaisen ends up taking the story. I'm personally curious about Tengen and their role in the narrative, as the explanation provided by Yuki doesn't sit right with me. And I also don't think Riko's role as the vessel could be so easily resolved, and it makes me think that Tengen could be hiding their evolution from their fellow sorcerers.
We also can't wait to see our main characters Itadori, Megumi, and Nobara again, as it's been years since we've seen them animated. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. We've really come a long way since our last Jujutsu Kaisen video.
I've been your host, Taylor.
And I've been your host, Noah, and we'll see you in the next episode of Jump Report.